Hello everyone, you have come to Tata Comic Preview channel. Let read together. Have fun. Very well. Zhou walked down the stairs to Yuan'er and said, all the names on this list, leave none alive. His voice was neither loud nor soft, and the speed was neither slow nor rushed. Every word reached everyone's ears clearly. They inhaled sharply when they heard the words. Although they did not whose names were on the list, it did not matter. They knew that once the list of names was in the Sword Devil's hand, they would all lose their lives. Was this the evil sky pavilion's strength? Yuan'er looked at the list again and said, weak. The people on the list were weak, indeed. Previously, he would not even deign to look at them. Perhaps, he felt the mission posed no challenge at all. He cupped his fists and said, let me add to the list of names. The others felt speechless. Zhou replied apathetically, all right. Yuan'er brought the paper to the table and began adding names to the list. A moment later, the rather empty paper was crammed with names. After he was done, he presented the paper with two hands to Zhou. Please take a look, master. There's no need for that. If you think you can kill them, then, kill them. Zhou showed his trust in Yuan'er. After all, he had no use for someone he did not trust. The others were silent. Pan Zhong, Zhou Jifeng, and the others felt their understanding of the world crumbled. Little Yuan, on the other hand, was curious. She walked up to Yuan'er and said, second senior brother, let me have a look. Yuan'er did not mind. He passed the paper to Little Yuan. Little Yuan raised the paper and read aloud, the Sect Master of Righteous Sect Master, Zhang Yuanshan. Duanlin Branch Master, Chang Jian. The Celestial Masters Sect's Grand Elder, Zhang Daoran. Hanku Branch's Grand Elder, Lao Zhangjin. Good Fortune Temple's Abbot, Buddhist Master Miaozhen. 7 Stars Villas Hushan Dao. Every time a name was mentioned, the others felt their hearts skipped a beat. They were all names of notable individuals. Every single one of them was people whose names shocked the lands. They were the elites of the 10 great sects who had attacked the Golden Court Mountain previously. Little Yuan's voice sounded exceptionally clear and bright inside the great hall. After a moment, she paused and looked at Yuan'er as she said, second senior brother, you've added many names. Yuan'er merely smiled. Little Yuan continued, Yuan Sect's Grand Elder, Zhao Ji. Yuan Sect's Second Elder, Sun Hong. These were the names of people from the Yuan Sect, the leader of the 3 sects in southern Great Yen. The others felt their heart race as they listened. The 3 sects were sects that were stronger than the 10 great sections. The sizes of their forces were not something that the 10 great sects could compare to. After reading for a while longer, Little Yuan reached the last name on the list. Luo Sect's Second Elder, Shan Yunzhang. As soon as Hua Yuesheng heard this name, her eyes widened as she staggered backward. Zhou Jifeng noticed Hua Yuesheng's reaction and looked at her. What's wrong? Hua Yuesheng said, it's nothing. I'm all right. There were only so many people inside the Great Hall. Everyone's movements could be clearly seen. It was impossible for Zhou to miss the change in Hua Yuesheng's expression. The names on this list belong to the people who bear ill intentions toward the evil sky pavilion. There are many sects on the noble path, but have you ever wondered why they're the only ones on the kill list? Zhou asked. Initially, he did not plan to explain his reasons to these people. However, the current evil sky pavilion was different from the past. There were others who came from other sects after all. Before Zhou began to explain, Pan Zhong interjected, the names that Pavilion Master and Mr. Second wrote down deserve to die. When they attacked Evil Sky Pavilion back then, they should have expected this day to come. The others nodded. Hua Yuesheng. Zhou looked at Hua Yuesheng. Hua Yuesheng immediately bowed and said, Pavilion Master. Shan Yunzhang is Luo Sect's Second Elder. Do you have a problem with me killing him? Zhou asked. He noticed that when Shan Yunzhang's name was mentioned, Hua Yuesheng did not seem to be in a good mood. Hua Yuesheng said, I don't dare to have an opinion on someone Mr. Second intends to kill. I'm just a little emotional. Shan Yunzheng was my master. However, when I left the Yuan sect, I've severed all ties with her, Hua Yuesheng explained. The others nodded in understanding. No wonder she had reacted so strongly when she heard the name. It was only natural. After all, even if she had become cold-blooded, it would be difficult for her to remain indifferent to her former master. Lu Zhou stroked his beard and nodded. Shan Yunzheng? Hua Yuesheng nodded and said, that's right. Lu Zhou looked at Yu Shangrong. After all, Yu Shangrong was the one who added the name. Yu Shangrong said, in that case, I'll leave her for last. If she's willing to repent before her time, I'll spare her. His words were directed to Hua Yuesheng. Hua Yuesheng said, thank you, Pavilion Master. Thank you, Mr. Second. At the end of the day, her master had taught her everything she knew. It could be considered as her fulfilling her obligations by doing this. Lu Zhou had no objections since he did not have much of an impression of this Shan Yunzheng character. There were many elites from the 10 great sects who laid siege to Golden Court Mountain. Aside from the 10 great elites, he could only remember a handful of the other names. After all, with his status, it's impossible for him to notice and remember every Tom, Dick, or Harry. With no more objections, Yu Shangrong put the list away. Then, he said, please tell me about the second mission, Master. Lu Zhou waved his hand again. Another paper flew from the table. Yu Shangrong caught the paper and looked at it. It was filled with wriggly scripts and symbols. He could not understand it. Little Yuan stood on her tiptoes and hopped before she finally saw the symbols on the paper. She was baffled. Lu Zhou said, for the second mission, head to Brackish Mountain and find a book with these symbols. Yu Shangrong looked at the paper again as a question formed in his mind. Brackish Mountain was his hometown. He did not know what these mind-boggling symbols meant. However, he guessed that his master was trying to be considerate by sending him to Brackish Mountain. Now that he thought about it, he had, indeed, been away from his hometown for a long time. The second iron rule of the Evil Sky Pavilion was for those who joined the pavilion to sever all ties to the past. He could not possibly reject this kind offer from his master. In the end, he said, as you wish, Master. However, it's not easy to locate all the elites of the 10 great sections. This mission will take some time. Do what you must, Lu Zhou said. Not only did Yu Shangrong have to locate them, but he had to kill them as well. There were cultivators who were extremely afraid of death, so they would hide themselves behind barriers and formations. It would take a lot of effort to locate them. For this reason, although Yu Shangrong had a profound cultivation base, it was not a mission he could complete overnight. In the end, he said, yes, Master. Then, Lu Zhou lowered his head to Yu Shangrong's ear and said in a soft voice, if you run into a powerful opponent, you can just avoid them and leave them to me. There were all sorts of surprises in the world. Lu Zhou knew Yu Shangrong should not look down on everyone just because he was an 8-leaf elite. Yu Shangrong was initially stunned. Then, he nodded. He turned around and left the Evil Sky Pavilion's great hall. The others looked on as he left. They were filled with emotion. Yu Shangrong had just returned to the Evil Sky Pavilion, but he was already given such important missions. Could he successfully complete the missions he was given? Moreover, Lu Zhou had given him the liberty to act as he saw fit. Yu Shangrong liked missions like these as well. He could travel alone and challenge elites from other parts of the world while he went about completing his missions. This mission, in a way, allowed him to return to his original lifestyle. After 2 days, Yu Shangrong left the Evil Sky Pavilion. The missions were entrusted to Yu Shangrong because he was the best person for the job. This was also the kind of assignment that would put his abilities to use. Lu Zhou considered asking Yu Shangrong to capture Si Wuya, Old Seventh, as well. However, Si Wuya was certainly with Yu Zhenghai. Yu Zhenghai and Yu Shangrong were evenly matched. It was practically impossible to bring Si Wuya back. Moreover, the Nether Sect had many branches spread across the lands. It was difficult to locate Zhenghai as well. Meanwhile, the news of Zhang Yijian's death spread throughout the cultivation world. Great Yan's imperial family was surprised by this as well. During the morning assembly, the court officials had a heated debate over this matter. However, the matter was put on hold when the Evergreen Emperor did not show up at the imperial court for several days. 7 days later, there was a disturbance in Yi province. The imperial court and imperial family had no choice but to shift their attention to Yi province. Nobody brought the matter of the second prince, Lu Huan, up. Inside the study of the Evergreen Palace, one of the attendants walked into the study tremblingly. He kneeled on the ground and said, "Your Majesty, a report from the front lines says that Yi province is in disarray." A 60-years-old man stood beside the long table. He had a foot-long beard and deep-set eyes. He was the current emperor, Lu Gu. Lu Gu kept writing with his brush, immersed in calligraphy, seemingly unbothered by the news he just received. After an unknown span of time had passed, Lu Gu put his brush down and said, "Send word to Wei Shuayan. Tell him to quell the disturbance." The attendant was slightly stunned. He was about to inquire if such an important matter should be brought to the court. However, when he saw the emperor's expression, he swallowed his words and said, "Yes, Your Majesty." "How's the situation with the Empress Dowager?" Lu Gu asked with his hands on his back. "The Empress Dowager has recovered from her illness after her trip to the Evil Sky Pavilion. However, bodyguard Jiang, who escorted the Empress Dowager to the Evil Sky Pavilion, is dead. Zhang Yijian, who assassinated the second prince, has been brought to justice." Lu Gu nodded slightly and said, "Here's my decree. The crown prince shall be grounded for 3 months. Also, find a replacement for Han Yuan as quickly as you can. Tell the officials to come up with a list of names and present them to me." "Yes, Your Majesty." The attendant left the study respectfully. It was now quiet inside the study. Lu Gu raised his right hand slightly. Red veins could be seen on his palm. He muttered to himself, "When I'm at the 9-leaf stage, not only the 9 provinces, all nations will be mine."